So I'd like to talk to you about why people are toxic. So the cause and effect of toxic situations. The first thing is our childhood experiences, our childhood behavior, and it's how you are raised, the experiences you had as a child. If you've studied psychology or you are aware of what psychology teaches, the behaviors that you exhibit now are learned between the ages of 0 and 9, and the kind of upbringing you had. So if you had a trauma in that period, uh, the kind of behaviors or discipline your parents instilled on you, actually it's what you project now. So however your child is behaving now is a projection of how they will be behaving in 20 years, when they're 20, on their 30s, on their 40s. I'll give you an example of somebody who used to throw tantrums, and the parents, because they wouldn't want to deal with that situation, would give them what they want to quiet down the child. This is somebody who in the office you find them throwing tantrums as well. When they don't get what they want, they gossip, they throw fits, they stop contributing or collaborating, they withdraw. So they're throwing a tantrum, and this is similar to what they were doing when they were young. Another example is a child who had been neglected. So this is somebody who has probably very low self-esteem, and they need reassurance. And the only way, if you're not reassuring them, then the toxic behavior then comes out. Another cause is, and linked to what I've talked about earlier, is insecurities, where a line manager feels that they are not, they're insecure about their capabilities or their leadership, or even the role they're doing, the responsibilities that they have. And what they would do, on the other hand, is for them to feel valid or worthy, is to bring you down. You make someone small for you to become big. So it's also one of the causes that people become toxic. The other one is a toxic environment. So think about a field, a field full of landmines. It's just, and toxic make an environment. And what happens is that you recruit more people. It becomes almost like a pandemic. Yeah, if you toxic, become toxic, doesn't nicely become toxic. It's sort of the kind of the environment that I was working in some few years back. I can tell you where it started, and then there it just started generating. It usually happens where the leader is toxic, and the only way for you to survive is then to toe the line and you become like them. And then before you know it, it's a whole generation of, or it's a whole department or organization of toxic individuals, which makes the environment toxic. Funny thing, when I was working there, one of the conversations we used to make, one of the statements we used to make is, you are either on the table or at the table. So that the one being discussed or sit at that table. Yeah. The other reason why people are toxic is because they lack leadership. They just don't know how to lead, and they have grown sometimes too fast for their, and it happens especially when it's people have risen in their career so fast. They have grown to director level in 10 years, in 8 years. So they never had the opportunity to pick up the leadership capabilities, because some of these things, unfortunately, you learn them over time. There are people who are lucky enough to pick them along the way, but time usually develops maturity, time develops some of these traits. Yeah. And you will know this because even in school, you notice that the teachers who are older treated or behaved differently from the ones who are younger. Yeah. So with time, you get to become you get to mature and handle things differently. And some of how you would know someone lacks the leadership skills is they either don't know how to address bad performance. So someone in their team is not performing well, and because they don't know how to address bad performance, they become passive, they become aggressive, they become some of the things that we're talking about. They become bullies. uh, they don't know how, and it is as simple as addressing the bad behavior, because they don't know how to address or approach conflict in a way that would add value. Yeah. So lack of leadership things that causes people to be toxic. The effects then on the people who are on receiving end of this toxic leadership is health issues. So you find people starting to get gastrointestinal issues, things like ulcers, migraines. People are constantly having headaches, and for an organization, you would know this by the number of sick offs that are in a certain department, and it's not diseases that you can explain. It's not like malaria where it's a mosquito. They're just symptoms but not necessarily indicating a disease. Our bodies wired very interestingly that what you're going on can present itself in the form of a disease, and it's something that is mental. Another thing is that another effect to this is that you become numb to your work. You it seems appropriate given the situation that you're in, but then it's not going to eventually your performance is going to be affected because you withdraw from the work environment. You find people no longer interested in coming to work. It starts usually with the work events. Someone is no longer coming to for a team building. They're not coming for the drinks, for the lunch. Then it moves on to work. They attend meetings and they're quiet the whole time, even when they're supposed to be talking. They become numb to work situations, work conversations, or anything to do with work. Finally, another effect, not finally, there are quite many, I'm just highlighting some of the common ones, is that you get into more fights, especially at home. Um, Things like domestic violence start to arise. You're getting into more fights with your spouse, with your children. You don't know how to manage that situation with your domestic help. So you take the work problems at home. And this is why you see some cases, and you will find that even especially in homes, you find that most of the situations where there was domestic violence involved, some of the situations where domestic violence was involved, it can be traced back to work. So because you don't have an outlet, for men especially, you don't have an outlet in the office. You cannot, your ego is being bruised. You're not able to cope, and the only people who you have authority over then is in the office. Very unfortunate situation. I don't think it's something that anyone should be going through, and that is why having this talk then makes a lot of sense for us to avoid this kind of situation. So those are the causes and effects of a toxic situation. And